So we are a couple days into free agency and we have seen a lot of deals go down throughout the NBA, and I'm going to be handing out my winners and losers of the NBA free agency period so far. I actually think a lot of this year's deals have actually been pretty fair for both sides with the way that the market in the NBA is currently moving. And I think we're long past the years where we've just seen countless bad contracts after bad contracts like we did in 2015, 2016, and 2017. And like always, if you do disagree or even agree with my winners and losers, let me know in the comments below. Maybe give me your biggest winner and loser from free agency. Could be a team or a player. So we're going to start off with my first winner, and it is going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder were one of the best teams in the NBA last season. They were the 1 seed in the Western Conference. They lost to the Dallas Mavericks in 6 games in round number 2, and they brought back all their core and upgraded this offseason, especially in free agency. We all know they moved Josh Giddey for Alex Caruso. They drafted Nikola Topic and Dylan Jones and Asia Mitchell as well in the draft, but in free agency, they were able to sign Isaiah Hartenstein from the New York Knicks. They were able to give him a 3-year deal, but the final year isn't even fully guaranteed. So it's a 2-year deal, which is perfect with the Chet and J-Dub timeline because their rookie max extensions will not kick in for another 3 years. This is also a team that did a great PR move. They declined Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins' pretty valuable contracts to allow them to get nice paydays. Isaiah Joe got $48 million guaranteed and Aaron Wiggins got $47 million guaranteed. So they took care of their players who contributed for them in the playoffs last year with role players. And obviously it's still Shea's team. You have Chet, J-Dub, Lou Dort, still assets and draft picks if they wanted to go out and make a trade. But now they added Isaiah Hartenstein that fulfills the biggest need that they had last year in the playoffs. They just had a lack of rebounding, lack of physicality inside, and Isaiah Hartenstein will solve that. So the Thunder, who in my opinion are the favorites to win the Western Conference again next year, are big winners from this year's free agency period. My first loser has to be the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, I don't actually think the Clippers are total losers for losing out on Paul George. I think they did a good job replacing him in the aggregate, getting Derrick Jones Jr., getting Nick Batum, Mo Bamba, and Chris Dunn, and I don't think I would pay Paul George what Philadelphia just gave him this far into his career. I don't know if that contract's going to age well. Obviously, the Clippers are a desperate team, getting a new stadium, new branding. They don't own many of their draft picks, but the way that they are losers is just because of the 2019 trade for him. Back in 2019, they signed Kawhi Leonard from the Toronto Raptors. They gave up an absolute haul for Paul George, and one of those players in that trade, the main player, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, is better than Paul George today. Jalen Williams ended up being one of those draft picks. The next 2 years, these draft picks are going to the Thunder from the Clippers, and they made it to 1 conference finals back in 2021, and Kawhi was hurt for those conference finals. In 2020, they lost to the Denver Nuggets. They blew a 3-1 lead in the first year with this duo in the playoffs. In 2021, like I said, they lost in the conference finals to the Phoenix Suns. Didn't make the playoffs in 2022. Last year, lost to the Phoenix Suns in round 1 with no Kawhi and no Paul George. Injuries left and right. And obviously this year, they lost to Dallas in round 1 with an injured Kawhi Leonard. So this just ends the 5-year tenure of Paul George on the LA Clippers, and they're just losers because it was a giant failure throughout the half decade that they had that elite duo. I am going to consider the Philadelphia 76ers winners in free agency. Although I don't really love the Paul George contract, it's going to be fine, I think, in year 1, maybe fine in year 2, but in years 3 and 4, this is going to be a gross looking contract, in my opinion, when Paul George is eventually going to be 38 years old throughout this contract. $52 million a year, $211 million total for Paul George, who I don't even know is going to be an effective number 3 option because he's not an elite defender anymore, in my opinion. How is he going to be in that role? I think there's a lot of ifs and a lot of unknowns that could make the signing a little bit risky, but you got to go all in with Joel Embiid. With his injury concerns, he's getting close to 30 years old, and now you have a chance in a weaker Eastern Conference compared to the West with this big 3 of Embiid, Maxey, and Paul George to go out and win a title. So I do applaud Philadelphia doing that, even if this contract isn't going to be the best. But I love the contract they gave out for Kelly Oubre. I thought he was super underrated as a defender last year in the playoffs. Getting Andre Drummond was solid. Getting Eric Gordon is solid. This bench isn't going to look great, but I think they have done a solid job with their cap space. And obviously, the best free agent out there is going to be huge winners, and I thought that they did a solid job. I'm actually going to consider my New York Knicks losers here in free agency. Just for free agency specifically, yes, they were able to bring back OG Anunoby, maybe a little bit more than they would have liked to, but you had to bring back OG given what you gave up for him back in December in RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, and the 31st pick in this past year's draft, which ended up being Jonathan Mogbo, but they did lose out on Isaiah Hartenstein, and that was pretty much a corresponding move because they got Mikal Bridges. They could only offer Isaiah Hartenstein 4 years, $74 million, but they did lose their big name center out there. He didn't come back. That's going to be a massive loss for the Knicks, who whose center room right now is Mitchell Robinson, who struggles to stay healthy, and Jericho Sims, still very unproven. And this is a Knicks team that wants to contend for a championship next year. And I still think they have the roster to do so, but just losing out on Hartenstein and not really getting like a Goga Bitadze out there, or a Mo Wagner, or even like a Tristan Vucevic, I do think that they are slight losers if they even bring back Precious Achiuwa. I'm going to consider the Orlando Magic winners as well in free agency. This team was really good last year. They were a 5 seed. They exceeded expectations. They went to a Game 7 against Cleveland with a very young, inexperienced team in the playoffs, and now they're pretty much bringing everybody back besides Markelle Fultz, and they added KCP from the Denver Nuggets, 3 years, $66 million. Is it a little bit of an overpay? Yeah, you could look at it like that, but KCP is going to be a nice upgrade for this team. He could be a 3-and-D with championship level experience. He does have 2 rings, so this team is going to see the Paolo progression, the Suggs progression, the Franz Wagner progression. Same things with Anthony Black. They drafted Tristan Da Silva. They re-signed Goga Bitadze, love that. Re-signed Mo Wagner, love that. Got an extension done with Jonathan Isaac, one of the more underrated defensive big men in this league when he can stay healthy, and this team, in my opinion, is going to be competing for a conference finals next year. I don't think they're still in the tier 1 of teams in the East with Boston, New York, Philly, and maybe Milwaukee, but they're right there outside those tiers, and if this team could stay healthy and we could see this Paolo jump to maybe being a top 20 player in the league, this team could definitely make the conference finals next year. So I thought Orlando did a very good job in free agency. They're winners. I got to consider the Los Angeles Lakers losers as well. There was a report with LeBron James that he was going to take a little bit of a pay cut if they can go out and get a veteran that can make this team better right now, like a James Harden, like a Klay Thompson, like a Jonas Valanciunas. But they didn't get any of those guys, and LeBron did come back basically on a 2-year max extension. They're still going to be in the second apron. I know they were trying to avoid that. No, they're still most likely going to be a second apron team with a lot of these big contracts. They brought back Max Christie, 4 years, $32 million. I do like the upside of Max Christie, but he's still fairly unproven in this league, and who knows how that contract is going to age, even though I'm on the side that I think it's going to age well. So I think just the Lakers not really adding to this team at all. Yeah, they drafted Dalton Connect and Bronny James. Yeah, they brought back LeBron James and Max Christie, but they lost Taurean Prince to the Milwaukee Bucks. D'Lo did opt in, and there could be a trade still on the table, but I think just free agency alone, not getting any of these veterans, not getting a solid veteran minimum, I think the Lakers are going to be losers for a team that was a round 1 exit last year and is still trying to win a championship next year before LeBron retires. My next winner is going to be Tobias Harris's agent. Yeah, Tobias Harris's management group, Unique Sports Management, has done a fantastic job over the course of Tobias Harris's career. He may have done with some other agents as well, but Tobias Harris in his career, at the end of this Detroit Pistons contract, which is 2 years, $52 million, will have made over $300 million, $302 million to be exact dollars in his NBA career. Yes, Tobias Harris, whose best achievement was finishing top 20 in most improved player voting in 2018. To give an example, Klay Thompson, who was drafted in the same year as Tobias Harris back in 2011, has 4 rings, 5 All-Star appearances, 2 All-NBA appearances, and has made $316 million in the NBA. That's a $14 million difference between Klay Thompson and Tobias Harris. Yeah, Tobias Harris and his agent, huge winners. And I do think the Golden State Warriors are losers in free agency. I honestly don't think replacing Klay Thompson with Anthony Melton and Kyle Anderson is a bad thing. It's just the fact that Klay Thompson is no longer a Golden State Warrior. It would have been really dope to see him play his whole career with the Warriors, like Steph Curry, like Draymond Green, but that did not happen. He is a Dallas Maverick, and the two sides could not get a deal done. Now, I've been hearing conflicting stories. The Warriors weren't offering Klay enough, or that Klay was playing hardball, and no matter what the Warriors offered, he was never coming back. Either way, the relationship was broken, and we are going to see an end of an era of the Splash Bros in Golden State. So I don't know if that makes us NBA fans, Golden State Warriors fans, Steph Curry, or the organization as a whole losers, but I think it's just sad to see that Klay Thompson is no longer a Warrior. This could be a Ray Allen Heat arc for Klay Thompson, or maybe this is going to be a Tony Parker Charlotte Hornets arc. I have no idea. I think it's going to be more towards the Ray Allen Heat arc. I think he's going to be good for Dallas, and that's why I do have the Dallas Mavericks as winners in free agency. I think getting Klay Thompson is going to be huge for them. Guys like Derrick Jones Jr., PJ Washington, Josh Green last year were very inconsistent from downtown in the finals. Yeah, they had great runs before that, but I think Klay Thompson, who's been to 6 finals in his career and has hit so many big shots in so many big games, is the guy Dallas needs. A reliable 3-point 3-point shooter. And even though Klay's defense has taken a little bit of a step back, he's still an elite 3-point shooter that is going to get so many open looks playing next to Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. And I'm really excited to watch Klay and Kyrie Irving play on the same team. Imagine telling somebody that back in 2016. Like, that is just absurd that Klay Thompson is going to be on the Mavericks next year. And I also love the Najee Marshall signing as well. 3 years, $27 million. I thought that was an absolute steal. It is a lateral move most likely from Derrick Jones Jr., but I actually do think that he's an underrated player in this league. He can defend, he can guard multiple positions, and he can knock down threes as well. And I think he can hit that at a better clip than Derrick Jones Jr. could, and is going to be a little bit more reliable in the playoffs. They are going to miss Derrick Jones' defense, though. He was fantastic on that end of the floor in the playoffs. That's why that's a good get for the Clippers. And my last winner is going to be Victor Wembanyama. I actually think the Spurs have had somewhat of a disappointing offseason. Like, they drafted Stephon Castle 4th overall, but then they traded away Rob Dillingham to Minnesota for basically an 8th grader. And they didn't make any other trades at all. They still have Jeremy Sohan, Keldon Johnson, and those guys still on their roster. Maybe they make a trade for Lauri Markkanen, who knows? And they didn't really spend much of their cap space at the moment I'm recording this video. That could change if they get a DeRozan or Tyus Jones after this video comes out. But they only signed Chris Paul. But I love the signing for Chris Paul. 1 year, $11 million. Chris Paul is one of my favorite players of all time, and he's going to be somebody that could develop Stephon Castle and could mentor him. He could mentor Trey Jones, and he's most importantly going to give Wemby the ball. He's going to be better than any other playmaker that they had on their roster last year, including Trey Jones and Jeremy Sohan, and that's okay. He's the point guard for a reason. Chris Paul may average 9 assists a night almost as a 40-year-old. That is going to be insane. I am so excited to watch Chris Paul and Wemby work the pick and roll and just get Wemby the ball so we can see Wemby take an insane sophomore level jump. So that's gonna be for me. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, I would appreciate it if you drop a thumbs up. And like I said in the beginning of the video, if you agree or disagree with any of my winners and losers, let me know in the comments. I love you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.